Behind me is essentially a giant tide pool, probably no deeper than about 10 feet. Today I'm gonna hop in that giant tide pool and see what kind of wild food I might be able to get while snorkel foraging, free dive spearfishing the ultra shallows. Now this is a video I've been wanting to do for a long time. So I started by suiting up, making sure my hair was all tucked into my hood so it's not between my face and my mask, gave my mask a nice clean, and then hopped in the water. As I'm kicking out, I'm almost crawling. It's so darn shallow. Probably about 1.5 feet deep at this point as I pass by this rock. And I'm putting my spear gun above the kelp here so I can kind of climb over it. You want to make sure you're not dragging your spear gun through it or you're going to constantly be tangling yourself up. I started by loading up here, and the reason being there was a little window in the kelp right here, and even though I'm on my knees and I'm breathing on the surface right now, I wanted to see if I just sat right here, if maybe some fish would cruise right through this little window. I mean, I am very curious. Can I spear a fish while I'm actually on my knees? And I know you can't really see back in here, but as I'm looking, I start to see fish, and pretty soon I'm able to line up. And as I line up, I get my shot. And bam! This is a beautiful rubber lip surf perch. Rubber lip perch are characterized as having these massive lips that sort of look like rubber and otherwise kind of look like a darker pile perch. Here I am saying, look how shallow this is. Look at that. I'm only knee deep, and that's a really pretty sizable surf perch right there. Anyway, I swam out a little further. I'm about 4 feet deep now, and I dropped down underneath the kelp canopy. And just look at how many fish are down here, and each one of these is pretty sizable. I mean, any one of those fish would make an excellent dinner. But I didn't really need too many fish, so I just wanted to kind of film and show you around. You'll notice on the right here I can see pretty clearly, but on the left here where the sun comes through, it's rather difficult to see. And this is something I want to impart to you. When I dive the kelp forest, I try to get down into the shadows. And look at this. As soon as I get in the shadows, my eyes adjust and I can see everything clearly. And that's where all the fish are. So I know it can be a little bit claustrophobic when you're first learning to dive in kelp forests, but I definitely encourage you to try to get comfortable with it. Again, if you're going to be like a crab and you're going to keep your arms out, you're going to constantly be getting entangled. But if you stay more streamlined like a fish or a seal, you can pretty effortlessly weave your way through the kelp forest and look at all the fish you can see. And again, this is like 4 feet of water. Any one of these would make an excellent meal. So if you're looking to try to get into freedive spearfishing, these shallows, these beautiful little kelp forests in basically giant tide pools might be a good way to start. And I'm thinking about guiding this, so let me know if you'd be interested. Anyway, there's probably a school of 20 or 30 perch just chilling here in 4 feet of water, and all I could do was just sit there and chill and watch them. So beautiful. Finally, I decided to start to move forward and watch the perch. Boom, they're gone. And then I just want to find a little hole there and breathe up. That shot was just to show you that my fins are on the bottom right now. My spear gun is actually touching the bottom here. And here I'm saying, look, I'm only waist deep. Anyway, back down again. I don't know if I can really call this diving, kind of snorkel foraging. I guess it's diving. You're diving down a couple of feet. Anyway, in the shallows like this, you're going to be ultra buoyant. You may want to throw a little bit more weight on your belt, or you do what I do, which is dive down, grab the bottom with one hand, and kind of keep yourself securely at the bottom. I do a lot of grabbing of kelp as I'm cruising through. I'll grab it at the base where it's strongest, and then I slowly pull myself along. And when I start to see fish, then I'll just chill. Right here, I'm just going to wait. There are the fish. But I'm actually more interested in this cave I just saw over here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to break out my dive light and shine back in there, because that's the type of place I might find a rockfish. And if you look back in there, you can actually see the head of a fish. That is a lingcod. Of course, this one is a juvenile lingcod, undersized, and so I'm not going to pull the trigger, but it could have been a cabezon, could have been a rockfish, and it's always cool to see. So always worth busting out the light and taking a look around. Leopard shark here. No, they're not aggressive, don't worry. Super cool to see though. Now, one of the things I know a lot of people are very worried about in the kelp is if they go under, how do they get back out? So that's what I'm pointing out here. I look for spots that
show a lot of light, and that's real thin. It allows me to pop up. I can use my hand above my head, and then it makes it real easy to punch a hole through and breathe. Anyway, I only had about an hour in the water this time, so I'm taking the bands off. I'm gonna swim back in, but that's a lot of action in 4 feet of water in an hour. Anyway, as I was kicking back in, I ended up spearing one more fish. I filmed that one for Instagram though, so not in this video. But I did get one pile perch and one rubber lip perch, quite sizable, and I was very happy with those. So I set to filleting these, and I'm trying something new today. One of my clients was telling me that her mom, growing up, used to salt the fillets of perch, and that by salting them, it would change the texture and make them more firm. So I got thinking, well, I should give this a try. Of course, I have no direction here, so I have no idea what I'm doing other than putting salt on it. I ended up putting salt all over one of the fillets and letting it sit for 2 days, and then I did another one for 4 hours with just a little bit of salt. And all I can tell you is salting it definitely draws out the moisture. Apparently it changes the proteins and definitely made it much more firm. Do the pile perch first, we'll do the rubber lip perch second. Unsalted pile perch. Nice, delicate, white meat. Doesn't have much chewiness to it, so really falls apart. Nothing offensive about that meat. It's very good. It just doesn't have that chewy texture. But still, good fish otherwise. Wow. The salted one is much, much, much more difficult to cut. Whoa. I need to rinse this more. Way too salty. Oh. Texture's kind of amazing though. I gotta do that round 2. This is actually like round 3 or round 4. I keep trying different renditions of this. But this one, I let the perch sit in salt for 4 hours, and then I rinsed it off and I cooked the first version, and it was still a little salty, although the texture was significantly different. This one I actually soaked in fresh water for about an hour afterwards, so check it out. Okay, so still a little bit of salt in there, but not bad, like in a good way. It has kind of a perch thing going on, but it's definitely more on the firm side than a perch fillet straight off the fish. That's actually got a pretty darn good texture. I'm gonna try one of these thinner pieces. That was a pretty thick piece off of the rubber lip. This one's off the pile perch. Dude, okay, I think the thinner piece, the salt penetrates deeper, which makes it really salty if you just give it a rinse and throw it right back in the pan. But by giving it that soak in fresh water, that wasn't even salty. That was just really nice, and texture was definitely more firm than a normal perch. Dude, I'm blown away. Well, there you have it, folks. I think we just figured perch out. This is what it's all about. Experimenting with fish that some people, overlook because they're, quote, mushy. But that's wonderful.
little salt cure goes a long way. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you join me on some of these shallow water, snorkel foraging, intro level freedive spearfishing adventures, and I hope to see you at the Fisherman's Life Street Fair in early July. Until next time, keep the old ways alive.